The sun was setting over the vast expanse of the Texas plains, casting long shadows across the dry earth and painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson. A lone figure trudged along a dusty trail, boots worn down from countless miles traveled. His name was Samuel Cross, but most folks just called him Sam. He had seen his fair share of hard times in these Wild West days, where every sunrise could bring either salvation or sorrow. Sam carried little with him, just an old satchel slung over his shoulder and the clothes on his back. His face bore the etchings of worry lines deeper than any canyon carved by time and hardship. It had been 3 days since he last found water, and his stomach growled louder with each passing hour. Yet it wasn't hunger or thirst that weighed heaviest on his mind. It was guilt. Guilt for what he'd done, for promises broken, and for dreams left buried beneath the unforgiving soil of this land. As twilight deepened into night, Sam spotted a flicker of light in the distance, a ranch house nestled at the edge of a grove of cottonwood trees. The sight filled him with both relief and dread. Relief because shelter and food might finally be within reach, and dread because approaching strangers in these parts often came with its own set of dangers. Still, he had no choice but to press forward. The ranch itself was modest but well-kept, surrounded by a wooden fence that creaked softly in the evening breeze. A lantern hung near the entrance, casting a warm glow that seemed almost welcoming. As Sam stepped closer, the sound of hooves clattering against the ground caught his attention. From around the side of the barn emerged a man leading a horse, and not just any horse, but one so pitifully lame it could barely stand upright. "Evening, stranger," the man called out, tipping his hat. "You look like you've walked halfway across the continent." Sam nodded, his voice raspy from disuse. "Close enough, I reckon. Name, Sam Cross." "John Harper," the man replied, gesturing toward the limping pony. "This here's Bessie. She ain't much to look at, is she? But she's got heart, even if her legs don't agree." Sam studied the animal carefully. Its coat was matted and dirty, its ribs visible through thinning fur. One leg dragged awkwardly behind it, clearly injured. Most men would have shot such a creature long ago rather than let it suffer. Yet something about Bessie stirred something deep inside Sam. Maybe it was the way her eyes gleamed despite her condition. Or perhaps it was a memory of another horse he once loved dearly. "How much you want for her?" Sam asked suddenly, surprising even himself. John raised an eyebrow. "You serious? That mare's barely worth feed in. But if you're dead set on talking her off my hands, consider it yours for $1. $1. It was all Sam had left in the world, tucked away safely in his pocket. Every coin represented sacrifice and struggle. Yet as he gazed at Bessie, he knew without hesitation what he must do. Pulling the money free, he handed it over to John, who accepted it with a chuckle. "Hope you know what you're getting yourself into, friend," John said, shaking his head. "But hey, maybe Bessie will surprise us both." That night, Sam tended to the pony under the cover of starlight, cleaning her wounds and offering words of encouragement. Though weary and hungry, he felt a strange sense of purpose return to him, a feeling he hadn't known in months. By dawn, Bessie stood more steadily, though still far from healed. Over the next few weeks, Sam and Bessie formed an unspoken bond. They traveled together through rugged terrain, facing blistering heat during the day and biting cold at night. Along the way, they encountered bandits, runaway cattle, and other perils typical of life on the frontier. Through it all, Bessie proved herself braver and stronger than anyone, including Sam, could have imagined. One evening, as they camped beside a trickling stream, Sam noticed something unusual about Bessie's behavior. She pawed at the ground repeatedly, snorting and whinnying as though trying to draw attention to a particular spot. Curious, Sam dug into the soft earth with his hands, revealing a small metal object half buried beneath the surface. Dusting it off, he discovered it was a locket, tarnished but intact. Opening it revealed a photograph inside, a young woman with piercing blue eyes and a smile that seemed to radiate warmth. On the back of the locket, engraved in delicate script, were the words to my dearest brother. Little did Sam know, this discovery would unravel secrets far greater than he ever dreamed possible. Days turned into weeks, and Sam began following clues left behind by Bessie's mysterious actions. Each stop brought new revelations, a hidden journal buried in an abandoned cabin, a map drawn onto a piece of parchment tied to a tree branch, and eventually, whispers of a treasure long thought lost. According to legend, a prospector named Henry Blackwell had vanished decades earlier after striking gold in the mountains. Some claimed he hid his fortune before disappearing forever, while others believed he'd simply gone mad. It was during one particularly grueling climb up a steep mountain pass that Sam stumbled upon the final clue. Etched into the rock face was a symbol identical to the one marked on the map he'd found earlier. Beneath it lay a narrow cave entrance, obscured by thick vines and loose stones. With Bessie waiting patiently outside, Sam ventured inside, his lantern casting eerie shadows against the walls. Inside, he uncovered a chest filled with gold coins and jewels beyond imagination. But it wasn't the wealth that left him breathless. It was the letter resting atop the treasure, written in shaky handwriting. It told the story of Henry Blackwell's final days, detailing how he'd entrusted his sister's locket to his beloved horse, hoping it would lead someone worthy to the truth. And then came the twist. Henry Blackwell wasn't merely a prospector. He was also Samuel Cross's father, whose disappearance had haunted Sam's childhood. The brother mentioned in the locket belonged to none other than Sam himself. Tears streamed down Sam's face as he read the words written years ago by the man who had shaped his existence without ever truly knowing him. In that moment, surrounded by riches unimaginable, Sam realized the true value of what he'd gained wasn't gold. It was understanding, closure, and redemption. When he emerged from the cave, the first rays of sunlight kissed the horizon, bathing the landscape in golden light. Bessie nickered softly, as though sensing the weight lifted from her companion's shoulders. Together, they stood there, two souls bound by fate, ready to face whatever adventures awaited them next. For in the Wild West, where legends are born and mysteries unfold, sometimes the greatest treasures aren't buried underground. They're carried in the hearts of those brave enough to seek them. And so, Sam crossrode onward, his past redeemed and his future unwritten, guided always by the spirit of the lame pony who had changed everything. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Sam and Bessie continued their journey, the weight of the past no longer a burden but a guide. The landscape shifted around them, from rolling plains to dense forests where the air carried the scent of pine and damp earth. It was here, amidst the towering trees and the soft rustled leaves, that Sam began to reflect on the changes within himself. He had started this journey as a man broken by regret and loss, carrying only bitterness and a single dollar in his pocket. Now he was someone different, someone who understood the value of perseverance, trust, and the unexpected connections life could bring. Bessie, once dismissed as a worthless animal, had proven herself time and again, leading him not just to physical treasures but to emotional riches far greater. But the forest held its own mysteries, and as they ventured deeper, the path grew narrower, the shadows darker. The chirping of birds faded, replaced by an unsettling silence that pressed heavily on Sam's ears. He tightened his grip on the reins, his instincts telling him caution was warranted. Suddenly, Bessie halted, her ears perked forward, nostrils flaring. Ahead, partially concealed by underbrush, lay the remnants of a campsite, charred logs, scattered debris, and faint traces of blood staining the ground. Sam dismounted, his heart pounding as he approached cautiously. Among the ruins, he found a torn piece of fabric, dyed red with dried blood, and a small, ornate dagger embedded in a tree trunk. Little did he know, these were signs of a conflict long buried, a feud between two rival families whose hatred had torn apart entire communities. The dagger belonged to McAllister clan, known for their fierce loyalty and unyielding pride. The fabric, however, bore the crest of the Granger family, their sworn enemies for generations. Sam felt a chill run down his spine. Tales of the McAllisters and Grangers had been whispered around campfires since his youth, stories of vengeance and betrayal so deep that even time couldn't heal the wounds. Yet here, in this forgotten corner of the wilderness, the echoes of their war lingered, waiting for someone to uncover them. Bessie tugged at the reins, pulling Sam back toward the trail. Reluctantly, he followed, though his mind raced with questions. Who had fought here? Why had they come so far from civilization? And what role, if any, might he play in unraveling the secrets of this ancient rivalry? The days passed, and the forest eventually gave way to open fields dotted with wildflowers. Here, The air was lighter, the skies clearer, yet Sam remained vigilant. One evening, as they settled near a crystal-clear spring, a figure emerged from the tree-line. A woman dressed in simple yet elegant attire, her face pale but resolute. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady despite the uncertainty in her eyes. Sam introduced himself, wary but polite. "I'm Samuel Cross. I mean no harm." The woman studied him for a moment before speaking again. "My name is Eleanor McAllister. My brother disappeared weeks ago, and rumors say he headed east. Have you seen him?" Sam hesitated. There was something familiar about her features, a resemblance to the man in the letter he discovered in the cave. Could she truly be related to Henry Blackwell? Or perhaps another piece of the puzzle entirely? "I haven't seen your brother," he replied carefully, "but I've come across things that might interest you." Eleanor listened intently as Sam recounted his discoveries, her expression shifting from disbelief to awe. When he mentioned the locket and the treasure, her hands flew to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. "That locket belonged to my aunt," she exclaimed. "She vanished years ago, leaving behind only whispers of gold and betrayal. You must tell me everything." Their conversation stretched late into the night, illuminated by the silver glow of the full moon. Eleanor revealed fragments of her family's history, tales of love and sacrifice intertwined with violence and greed. She spoke of a hidden journal kept by her grandfather, which detailed the origins of a few of the Grangers, a dispute over land, yes, but also over ideals, over justice versus vengeance. Sam realized then that the treasure he had uncovered wasn't merely gold. It was a symbol of reconciliation, a chance to end the cycle of hatred that had plagued these families for so long. But achieving peace would require courage, and perhaps a confrontation with those who still clung to the old ways. Together, Sam and Eleanor devised a plan. They would travel to the nearest town, gathering allies among the settlers who had grown tired of the McAllister-Granger feud. Along the way, they encountered both friends and foes, each encounter shaping Sam's understanding of the world and his place within it. One particularly harrowing night, they were ambushed by a group of men loyal to the Granger cause. Swords clashed, shouts filled the air, and for a moment, it seemed all hope was lost. But Bessie, ever the hero, charged into the fray, her injured leg miraculously healed enough to carry her through the chaos. Her bravery inspired Sam, and together they turned the tide of battle, driving off the attackers. In the aftermath, Eleanor gazed at Sam with newfound respect. "You're more than just a wanderer," she said softly. "You're a man who fights for what's right, even when it costs him everything." Sam smiled, though his thoughts drifted to the road ahead. The final chapter of this story awaited them in the rugged mountains where the McAllister and Granger stronghold stood like sentinels of the past. There, amidst the crags and cliffs, they would confront the leaders of both clans, presenting the evidence of Henry Blackwell's legacy and urging them to choose a future free from resentment. As they ascended the mountain paths, the wind howled around them, carried with the whispers of countless souls who had walked these trails before. Sam felt a strange calm settle over him, as though destiny itself guided his steps. Beside him, Bessie trudged onward, her spirit undiminished, her loyalty unwavering. At last, they reached the summit, where two figures awaited, one bearing the McAllister emblem, the other the Granger crest. Tension crackled in the air, but Sam stepped forward, holding up the locket and the journal. "This is about gold," he declared, his voice ringing out against the backdrop of the majestic peaks. "It's about forgiveness, about letting go of the past so we can build a better tomorrow." For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, slowly, the leaders exchanged glances, their expressions softening. One by one, they nodded, signaling their agreement to put aside their differences. As dawn broke over the mountains, painting the sky in vibrant shades of pink and gold, Sam felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The journey that had begun with $1 and a lame pony had ended with the promise of peace, not just for McAllisters and Grangers, but for anyone touched by their story. And so, with Eleanor by his side and Bessie faithfully at his heels, Sam crossed road into the sunrise, ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited him next. For in the Wild West, where legends are born and mysteries unfold, sometimes the greatest treasures aren't buried underground. They're carried in the hearts of those brave enough to seek them.